So we are in Panji or Panjim as we'd promised in the previous video, but this video would probably be a little disappointing. I say disappointing because I think Fontainhas is probably one of the most wonderful areas of Panji and of Goa, and I think I haven't really been able to spend enough time in this area to do justice for myself or for you, and that's why I think I'm a little disappointed in what I can do with this video. But still, we'll walk around and move around this beautiful and colorful neighborhood of Goa and try to have a good time. And as you can probably already make out, this area looks extremely European because, of course, of the Portuguese influence, and it was sometime in the 1800s that Fontainhas was built because originally the area was actually a coconut plantation. And this piece of architecture, this church, actually predates Fontainhas and predates it actually by a long time. This is a church that was built in the 1600s. It's called Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, and if we go back 100 years, like if we go to 1500s, there was actually another structure here which was a chapel which was built sometime in the 1500s. So this is extremely old history. So of course my reference to extremely old history earlier is a bit of an exaggeration, but still, I mean, when you come to Goa, you don't really expect structures and buildings that would be built 400 years ago. So that's why it's unbelievably old. And it's even old if we compare it to Fontainhas, which was built in the 1800s. So most of these beautiful and bright and colorful houses, they were actually built in the 1800s because that was when the capital of Goa was shifted from what's called Old Goa or Velha Goa to this area. And along with that shift came a lot of the administrative officials, the politicians, the top brass, and they of course wanted to live in a nice area, and this area, which was then a coconut plantation, was chosen to be the area where those officials would stay, and that's how the very European, the very Portuguese Fontainhas was built. And even today, a lot of the population here, or at least a significant chunk of the population here, actually comprises of the Anglo-Indians, or the people who are actually descendants of the Portuguese who were originally living in this area. Though I think I should clarify, it wasn't just the Portuguese who were even originally living in this area, because in the 1800s it was almost 200 years of the Portuguese being here. So there were a lot of locals, a lot of people who were mixed of Portuguese and Indian heritage who were actually living in this area. Wow. Look at those beautiful houses. So while you adore these absolutely beautiful palatial almost houses, I think you would have already noticed that the gradient is increasing and we are gaining altitude. And it is indeed true that we are gaining altitude in this area of Fontainhas. We are, I think, generally still in the same neighborhood, but this particular area is called the Altenho Hill, and because it's a hill, that's why you see us gaining altitude. And I'm not sure if you're feeling it, but Latino splendor. I mean, you may be feeling Latino splendor as well, but I was meaning to say something else. So earlier I was meaning to say that this area literally feels like the hills. It feels almost a bit like the Himalayas, and wow, look at that beautiful view. And it's extremely strange to have that sort of a feeling here in Goa, because when you're in Goa, it's assumed that you've already made your choice in the hills versus seas debate, at least in that moment, and you've chosen the sea. But to be able to find this beautiful space within Goa and to be able to climb up this hill, it's a very unusual and a very different kind of experience, and I'm really liking this. Though I think, as I was mentioning earlier, there is some level of disappointment because I'm not really able to go close enough to this area. Anyways, so I think even though I've not been able to explore this area for myself and for you as much as I would like, we've still had a decent primer of, wow, look at those beautiful colors. A decent primer of Fontainhas and the Altono Hill nearby, and I think this has definitely piqued my interest to come back for a quieter and slower and more in-depth experience of this area as well as other areas of Panji. And I keep saying Panji and I feel it's weird. I think it's more famous now with the name Panjim. Anyways, so here we are in Panjim. We've explored the Fontainhas area and the Altono Hill, and now I'm kind of hungry, and maybe you're hungry as well, so we'll try to find some food. So I found this very interesting bakery, and maybe that's where we'll try and go. And it definitely sounds like a very Portuguese place. Wow, look at that. That looks like another old Portuguese kind of house. Abandoned, but still very beautiful. In fact, I wish I could just like come here and live in the house and renovate the house. It'll be wonderful. So yeah, we will try to go to this place. Wow. This place, which is a Portuguese bakery actually, and the place I think would serve the famous Portuguese dessert, which is called pastéis de nata, and hopefully we'll have a good time eating that for the first time for me actually. So yeah, on to something interesting, something new. I'll see you once we reach there. Here we are. It's called Padaria Prazeres, and this place looks absolutely beautiful. It's not too big, but they've set it up in this Christmassy manner, and I see a lot of red contrasting with yellow. Red happens to be my favorite color. Wow. And Padaria Prazeres is actually a Portuguese expression. Padaria means bakery and prazeres means pleasure. So this is like baking pleasure or bakery pleasure. and it sure is very pleasurable. And yeah, this is it for today and for this video. I'll catch you